Time to make predictions on the Four Nations face-off rosters.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, November 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MonoMan12 and on Blue Sky at MonoMan12. You can follow the show account at LO_FLA Panthers and as well on Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers, no underscore there. And shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, just match with Indeed. So, Florida Panther fans, it's a great opportunity for this episode to make some predictions for the Four Nations face-off. I know that the actual tournament is not until February 12th, the first day of it, but rosters are due in less than 2 weeks from the time of this recording, due on December 2nd. And with the Panthers and the Jets facing off on Tuesday, and still not a lot has happened as far as roster updates. The only update that we do have is that Jesper Boquist was not at practice today for the Panthers. We'll know more tomorrow. So that's it in regarding that matchup. So today is all about the roster projections for all four teams participating in the Four Nations face-off. And here to do so with me to do the roster predictions here, he is a guy that you have heard on the show before. He is the host of Locked On Syracuse, but he is also a South Florida native and a Panther fan himself. Jackson Holzer is back. Jackson, thank you for coming on for this edition of the show to do the roster projections for the Four Nations. Very exciting to have international hockey back.
Oh, I can't wait. See, we got to get trapped in our Florida Panthers bubble. I think this is a great opportunity to kind of showcase what we know about the other 31 teams in the National Hockey League. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of Panthers at the Four Nations face-off. There's going to be a lot of them. You know why? They're Stanley Cup champs. They're Stanley Cup champs. And the Stanley Cup champs have the best players in the world. So the best players in the world are going to be at the Four Nations face-off. I can't wait. Let's do this.
Yep. And so I want to discuss more before we reveal our rosters of who we think is going to make it or not. Just our logic. And my logic is basically a role of guys who could play, especially on the forwards, multiple spots, power play, PK, goaltend, and then we're going to have some defensive defensemen, at least in my roster for it. It's not necessarily guys of point producers. So that's my logic. How about your logic?
I tried to do a little mix of both. It's very easy with this rosters to go, 1 through 13 forwards, 1 through 7 defensemen. Goalies, it's a little easy. You just take the best ones, but you have to kind of look at fit. You have to look at chemistry. And also you kind of have to project what you think they're going to do, because they're going to do some things that people are going to be like, really? They did that? So I think on my list, especially for the United States one, there's going to be a name or two that you're like, really? So just keep an eye on that.
Yep. And we'll start this first segment with Finland and Sweden, head coach by Antti Pennanen and assistant Mikko Koivu, who just recently retired, and Tuomo Ruutu on the Panthers coaching staff. He will be a part of the assistant coaches for Finland. So I'm going to start with centers and then name my wingers after that. So centers will be Alexander Barkov, Sebastian Aho, Rope Hintz, and Anton Lundell in that order for centers. Of course, the wings, you can mix them up with different combinations of them. So Teuvo Teravainen of the Chicago Blackhawks, Mikko Rantanen, who was one of the one of the first guys named, Matthias Michelli, Mikael Granlund is one from the San Jose Sharks, Arturi Lankinen, who just returned from injury, Kaapo Kakko, although he's been down for the first few years, he still has a chance to really truly make this roster as a guy who could definitely play at 5-on-5. Eric Holla, former Panthers, one that I also have on this roster, and also Chisberry, Kakaniemi from the Carolina Hurricanes. Those are my forwards. And I will have one of the extras as Etu Luostarinen. I do believe that he will make it, but I'm as far as a scoring punch, I believe that they'll try to find a little bit more of that on the as far as the rest of the roster. But I do believe that Etu Luostarinen will make the four nations for Finland. And there's still that question mark for me of Patrick Laine on his health.
That's what I was gonna chime in with that one.
So there's still that question. So forwards for you for
sure.
Finland.
I pretty much agree with you. I also have Etu making the team, but I don't have him as an extra. I think Kakko would be an extra. We agree on the centers. I mean, Barkov's gonna be a center. Aho, Hintz, Lundell, like those are your four. I think you can also shift Luostarinen to center as well. So you can kind of have him as a hybrid fit center. Wingers, Rantanen, Teravainen, Granlund, Michelli, Lehkonen, Luostarinen, who I just said, Hala, and Kakaniemi. Kakko as my extra. I think narrowly missing Tolvanen, Eli Tolvanen. He's not having the greatest year, so I kind of had him as just missing. Joel Armia, same deal. But Laine is the big question mark, because when I look at Finland's forward group, I'm saying, where's their scoring punch? And I know you might be thinking to yourself, when I read you that list, it's like, wow, they have a lot of good scorers. Well, they have, in my opinion, probably the worst forward group of all the four teams. So they need more scoring. They do. So if Laine is healthy and he can go, I would swap him instead of Kakko, and I would probably then make Laine obviously in that top 12. He might even be in the top 6. As far as who the extra would then become, it would either be Kakaniemi or Hala after that point.
No doubt. Defense, I got Asa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen, both left-handed shots. So second pair would be Nico Mikkola, paired with Henry Jokiharju of the Buffalo Sabres, and then Juuso Välimäki and Rasmus Ristolainen of the Philadelphia Flyers. And, with the extra being Oli Mata. And for the defense, so when you think of Ristolainen, fell out of favor in Buffalo, but a lot of guys the combination of the guys in Buffalo were, part of guys who really weren't fitting together for their rebuild there. So a little bit of the defense group is a little bit of a question mark there. So how about your defense?
So I think we agreed on 6 of the 7. You had Välimäki in there, if I heard you correctly. I have Hakanpää.
Okay.
He's just coming back for Toronto, and he's actually a pretty good player. I was kind of mad when Toronto got him, and he's on a cheap deal too. I like him. I think I have him as an extra, though. I don't have the pairs. I didn't do any pairs for it, but we agree on the other 6.
Okay. And goaltenders. Starter is going to be UC Saros.
Yep, I think so. We are in agreement on that one.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yep.
And then third goaltender might be the question mark. But I'm going to go with Jonas Korpisalo, journeyman goaltender, but has played well in different spurts. So I think he's going to be a reliable third goaltender.
That's interesting. I didn't even have Korpisalo listed. I had Lankinen as my third one.
Panther killer, Kevin Lankinen.
Yeah. And Joel Blomqvist from Pittsburgh. I think he deserves a little bit of consideration. I don't think he makes the team, though, but he's low-key playing pretty good for a crappy Pittsburgh team. So I had to show him a little bit of love.
No doubt. All right. So moving on to Sweden with head coach of Sam Hallam, GM Anders Lundberg. So centers, Mika Zibanejad, Elias Pettersson, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Michael Backlund as the centers. So and my wingers, Philip Forsberg, one of the guys who are automatically in, William Nylander, and then Adrian Kempe, Jesper Bratt, Lucas Raymond, who had one heck of a season last year for the Detroit Red Wings, even though they're struggling this year. Elias Lindholm, who was part of the Selke conversation, William Karlsson, Wild Bill, and then I'm going to add Leo Carlsson to the mix. Young Anaheim Duck, who has a lot of promise there.
The biggest controversy I have, we actually agree exactly down the middle. We agree exactly. It's the same list. The big one that I have omitted from here is Elias Lindholm. I don't love him. I think he has regressed significantly over the past few seasons, and I don't know where you put him. I don't. Where are you going to put him? You're going to put him on the wing? I don't really love him as a winger. He's not one of the 4 or 5 best centers on Team Sweden, in my opinion. And I opted for a little bit more youth with William Eklund and Leo Carlsson as my final 2 forwards. I don't think that Team Sweden's going to do this. I think they are going to take Elias Lindholm, but I wouldn't. I think he is massively overrated.
Just the veteran presence. I'm sure that you want a mix of that youth and then the veteran presence there. But
exactly, they got a lot of veterans. They got plenty of them. They don't need another one.
All right, defenseman Victor Hedman, Rasmus Dahlin. I believe Victor Hedman is probably going to be the captain of the team. Gustav Forsling and Erik Karlsson. Even though
Carlson's an auto. See, if people are confused by our lists, like with some of the players, well, some of them have already been selected. And Erik Karlsson is one of those players. He has already been selected.
Yeah.
So he's your bingo free space. He's on the team.
Yeah. I don't like it, but yeah, he is there. And then Hampus Lindholm along with Matthias Ekholm for the Edmonton Oilers there. So Adam Larson could be the extra D from the Seattle Kraken, a veteran who's played 800 plus games. So that is probably my extra defenseman for Team Sweden. How about yours?
We are a little different on the defense here. Obviously, the 3 that have already been named: Gustav Forsling, shout out the Panthers; Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, Rasmus Dahlin. That's an easy one. I got Rasmus Anderson, future Florida Panther Rasmus Anderson. I like him. Matthias Ekholm, and the final one that I have on here, this guy might be the best shutdown defenseman in the league, or at least he's up there. Maybe top 5 best shutdown defenseman in the league. Jonas Brodin. You're talking about a guy that you can put on the penalty kill. You're talking about a guy who you can put out there against the other nation's best and say, hey, you know what? We got maybe the best defensive defenseman in the world. We can put him out here with, say, end of a game situation. Jonas Brodin and Gustav Forsling. Good luck. Good luck. So I have Brodin in there, and the big, I guess I'm not a big Lindholm guy because I have, again, Hampus Lindholm left off. That means the Lindholm guys, they're not bros because they're not actually brothers. The Lindholm guys are off the team.
And Jonas Brodin being part of that incredible start that Minnesota is having. And let's shift to the goaltending, where there is a Minnesota Wild here that I have as probably the 3rd goaltender, as Philip Gustafsson, Linus Ullmark, and then Jacob Markstrom as far as the goaltenders. So how about your goaltenders for Team Sweden?
We agree. I think Ullmark is the clear starter. And then Gustafsson, Markstrom, it doesn't really make a difference to me. I think Ullmark's your guy, and you're going to roll with him the whole tournament.
Yep, and definitely a good balance of goaltenders for Team Sweden there, and a whole bunch of penalty killers just like there and Team Finland as well. But we're going to shift over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss more on Team Canada and Team USA's projected rosters that both Jackson and I have. We are going to discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. And if you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 300 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to an recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show can get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, continuing on this conversation between myself and Jackson Holzer here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast to discuss more about our roster projections based on, now we are going to shift the focus on the United States and Canada for their rosters. And let's start off with Canada, GM by Doug Armstrong, assistants Don Sweeney and Jim Nill, with head coach John Cooper, and assistants Rick Tocchet, Bruce Cassidy, and Pete DeBoer there for him. And centers, McDavid, Mac Dodd, Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and John Tavares. I got that one. I have John Tavares over Nick Suzuki there. And then my wingers, Zach Hyman, Sam Reinhart, Matthew Barzal, Mitch Marner, Braden Point shifting from center to wing, Brad Marchand, one of the guys who are in already, Wright Nugent Hopkins, and Travis Konechny from the Philadelphia Flyers. And I considered Nick Suzuki, but I wanted to go with John Tavares there, who's having a great season for the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. How about your forwards?
Well, I thought about leaving Nathan McKinnon off the team because they have a lot of centers. But no, what I was going to say about that is McKinnon's going to be on the team, obviously. He's a top 3 player in the world. But I think they're actually going to move him to the wing for this tournament. I think they're going to actually put McDavid and McKinnon on the same line. But that third guy is the one that might really surprise you from my list. I think they're going Zach Hyman. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to put Zach Hyman, who's not having the greatest year last year, but need I remind you, last year the man scored 70 goals. So I think they're going to take him. They're going to put him with McDavid, and they're going to put him with McKinnon. And the reason why you do that is because, A, you have the 2 of the best players in the world, and then you need someone who's going to go to the net. And you know what Zach Hyman's going to do? He's going to go to the net. So you need someone standing there because, look, they're going to be firing it all from that line. You need someone who's going to be a net front presence. That is why I think they're going to take Zach Hyman, solely to be a net front guy. Crosby is already named to the team, obviously, and he would be on it anyway. Brad Marchand's already named to the team. He'd probably be on it anyway. Braden Point. I really like Braden Point, and he's not on the team anyway. Reinhart, free space. You have to take Sam Reinhart. Mark Stone. Stone is a killer. I love Mark Stone.
If healthy. He hasn't played since November 6th. So
if healthy, yeah. But I love Mark Stone. I really do. If he's healthy, he's on the team. Mitch Marner, you have to take him. I also have John Tavares. I'm glad that we're on the same page there. I think he's a perfect 4th-line center, and contrary to what people might think, the man's not washed.
No way.
He's not washed at all. He's never been the fastest guy in the world. He's really good still. I got Connor Bedard, and I'm not even the biggest Bedard fan, but you need a scoring winger. And this is someone who can score. I know he's on the Blackhawks right now, so his totals don't look so great. You put him with other talent, I promise you, he's going to score a lot of goals. I already mentioned Zach Hyman, Nick Suzuki, and I might call an audible on the final one. I think we can go Steven Stamkos over Mark Scheifele. They got enough centers. I don't think you need Scheifele on the team.
I thought about Stamkos, but
Stamkos, I compiled the list this afternoon. I was like, I don't think they're going to leave him off.
No, just because he's missed his opportunity before because of 2014 breaking his leg. So that's also there. I do have Connor Bedard as the extra forward for Team Canada. But defense, Taze Makar together, same team in their club team, and they're going to be together for the Four Nations. Shea Theodore and Pietrangelo, 2 Vegas Golden Knights paired together, and then Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets and Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders together for those. And then I thought about Morgan Riley for this one, but I was stuck between him and Evan Bouchard. Drew Doughty's is still a wild card because of his health. If Drew Doughty's healthy, he'll be that extra defenseman. But as of right now, just because of recency bias, because of how well he's played in the last year, I'll say Bouchard is my extra D.
Canada's got so many great defensemen, and there's a lot of guys who are left off that would be on the other teams. We agree on the first 4. I mean, Makar's going to be with Taves. Theodore's going to be with Pietrangelo. Those are like free spaces. Those are easy. Josh Morrissey, I think, has to be on the team.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That guy is like one of those players that might be one of the – he's like in that category of best players that nobody talks about. Josh Morrissey, right there. There's a few Winnipeg Jets on that list. He's really good. I have him on the team. I got Bouchard, but honestly, I don't know. They don't really need him.
I'm with you there.
They really don't need him. I would think about Uyghur potentially, maybe. So I'll make an audible there. I'll put Uyghur on the team. I think he's really good. I know he starred from the Panthers, but he's actually pretty good. And then my final one might surprise you. I'm going to go with Chris Tanev.
Yep, can block shots, right-handed shot.
If they decide to put him in there, like he is like kind of in that Brodeen type where he's like one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Like you just don't score goals when he's on the ice. You don't. Mm-hmm. So, and you need penalty killers. Is he going to put up a ton of points? No. You know what? I watched him with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I've watched him his whole freaking career. That dude can defend. And you need defense. Do I think he's one of the 7 most talented defensemen on Team Canada? No. But it's not always about taking the best players. It's about taking the right players. And I think Tanev fits that mold of he might be the right player. He might be that one guy that they really need.
Mm-hmm. All right, now shifting to goaltenders, which
we're going to have open tryouts for goaltending. I heard Armando is going to put on the pads.
Yeah. Not a goaltender here, but Jordan Binnington,
sure,
Aiden Hill,
okay,
and then third one I'll say Sam Montembeault for this one. Tristan Jarry has been awful this year.
Stinks.
And then being sent down. Just Pittsburgh can't defend anything. And then Joel Hofer, he's behind Jordan Binnington, so he doesn't get as many games. So I guess those are my 3 goaltenders. How about you?
We agree on Hill and Binghamton, and I think that Hill is going to be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably their best goalie, which is kind of sad, but Hill's not that bad. Like, if they can get decent goaltending, they'll be fine, and Hill can probably do that. The third one, I'm going to go with Stuart Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can forget how clutch he was at times during the playoffs, and it just seems like he always gets off to slow starts in the regular season. He just does. But he turns it on at the end, and you need a third goalie. They don't have a lot to choose from. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go Stuart Skinner. It's not the greatest, but it's your third goaltender. He's probably not going to play anyway.
They should put 4 just to put Marc-Andre Fleury there. Please. Just send him off into the sunset, even if they don't win.
They might take the Flower. They might, because what's the difference? Yeah. Are people going to be offended if they take Flower over Skinner? No. I don't think they're going to pick against the first 2 that we named. I think those 2 are relative locks. Hill more so than Binghamton, but that third one, I mean, me and you could probably be the third goalie. I mean, who knows? Like, play anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. But we're running a little long here, so we're going to take one more ad break, and then we're going to discuss USA's team and also discuss more of the units of who is the strongest in what and who is the weakest in what. So we're going to discuss that on the other side of the break here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the actions in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly after you play $5. You don't even need to win the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And you think Nathan McKinnon will get more than 0.5 goals? Even Alexander Ovechkin, who's now leading the NHL in goals after 4 goals in the last 2 games. If you think he'll get more than 1, you could put that all on PrizePicks. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And you could do that all on PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, third and final segment here on this Tuesday, November 19th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, here with myself and Jackson Holzer to discuss more about USA's roster and who is the strongest and weakest in the different categories based on team building. So USA's roster GM by Bill Guerin, Mike Sullivan as the head coach, and with assistants John Hines, John Tortorella, and David Quinn, who's currently an assistant under Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh, named right before he was let go by the San Jose Sharks. But centers, I'm going to start with Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Tage Thompson, who's having a great bounce back season after the goal drop off from last year. And then you know what? I'm gonna go with a guy who could play more of a two-way center here, and I'm gonna go with Dylan Larkin as a fourth line center there for Team USA. And then my wingers, I'm gonna go with both Tkachuk brothers, Brady and Matthew Tkachuk, Jake Gensel, Kyle Connor. You cannot leave Kyle Connor off this roster. Jason Robertson, Jack Hughes shifting from center to wing on this one. Same thing with JT Miller of the Vancouver Canucks, center to wing, who could also play the penalty kill. And depending on the health of this one, Brock Besser. I do think if healthy, he is going to be on this team for Team USA. I thought about Cole Caulfield. I feel bad leaving him. If maybe he's an extra, but I would feel bad if I were to leave him off. But also, there's also a chance for Clayton Keller to be part of the mix here for Team USA. How about your forwards?
Again, with some of these lists, I mean, like there's going to be people disappointed. Like it's just how it goes. I mean, like Cole Caulfield might score 50 goals this year and not make Team USA. That's just how it's just how these rosters are loaded. We kind of agree. I don't know if they're going to shift Hughes to the wing. I don't really know if I like that idea. I think I kind of like this 4-punch right here of Matthews, and then you got Hughes, and then you got Eichel, and then you got Larkin. We agree on Larkin. I think Larkin is the perfect fourth-line center for a tournament like this. He's a number one center on the Detroit Red Wings, which I know it's the Detroit Red Wings, but the guy's a number one center. It carries a good amount of weight. This is not like a Kevin Stenlund situation where you're like, oh, he's normally a fourth-line center. Let's just stick him in this tournament and put him on the fourth line. No. Dylan Larkin's a first-line center, but can play fourth-line center in an all-star tournament. So I have Larkin as well as the fourth-line center. I think the guy that might shift to the wing is Tage Thompson. That's the guy who I'd probably want to shift to the wing, and I have him on the team. JT Miller on the team, Brady Tkachuk on the team, Matthew Tkachuk's already on the team, Kyle Connor, another one of those guys who's best player that nobody talks about. He's really good. Jake Gensel. This guy they're not leaving off. They're not going to leave out this guy that I'm about to say. Can you guess it?
Patrick Kane?
Yeah, they're not leaving him off. He's on the team.
Yeah.
They're not leaving him off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My jaw will be on the floor, and you might need to saw it off if they actually leave him off the team. The guy's like the greatest United States-born player in the history of the game. They're not going to leave him off. So I got Kane, Cole Caulfield, Tage Thompson, who I already just said, and my final one, Chris Kreider.
Okay.
Because you need someone who's going to kill penalties.
Yep.
And Kreider fits that mold. So I got Chris Kreider. In fact, I think Cole Caulfield would be the one that comes out of the lineup and is like that healthy scratch. Still on the roster, but a healthy scratch. And you got Chris Kreider in that as like that bottom six forward who, when they take a penalty, he's going to be on the ice in the penalty kill.
Yeah. Definitely a good two-way forward, that Chris Kreider, who's scored 50 goals in the league before, just 2 years ago. But all right, defense for Team USA: Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy. Defensive defensemen in Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Zach Werenski. And this one was a little bit tough because I thought about Brock Faber, probably going to have him as the extra. But I'm going to go with Noah Hannafin of the Vegas Golden Knights here for the defense for Team USA here. But Brock Faber, I believe he will get his opportunity for Team USA. How about your?
I got the three guys who are already on the team already. So you got Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, and they'd be on the team regardless. This one's interesting. Because we agree on Slavin. You said Zach Werenski, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another one of those guys, best player that nobody talks about. That guy is ridiculous. He's had injury issues, but when I saw that game, they played in Columbus, Panthers and Blue Jackets. Werenski might have been the best player on the ice. The guy was ridiculous. I was like, how? This guy's on Team USA. Like, I don't care. Like, you can't name me 7 better defensemen than him. So he's on the team. I got John Carlson.
Okay.
John Carlson, I think he's another one of those players that I don't think they're going to leave him off. I think he's been on Team USA before, 2014, if I want to say. Dude's consistent. He's had some up and down years in the past. He's having a very good year this year on a very good Washington team. He's definitely upped his stock, and someone who I've believed in more than maybe others. I think they're going to put him on the team. And then the final spot is so close. I mean, Hannafin's a great candidate for it. Brock Faber. I ultimately went with Jake Sanderson. I'm throwing a bone to Ottawa Senators fans. I just think, why not? I think give him a shot. He's pretty good.
Yeah. John Carlson was on the 2014 USA Olympic team. Did play 6 games, 2 points there for Team USA there, and also part of the World Cup of hockey there for Team North America as well. Just a few years ago, back in 2016 for them. But goaltenders, this one should be easy. Hellebuyck, Ottinger, Swayman, right?
Yep. Cool.
Yep. So those are the easy ones for Team USA. All right. So regarding the schedule, first 4 games are going to be in Montreal Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, which Hockey Night in Canada will be USA Canada on ABC primetime. So that is, love how the schedule.
I'm clearing up my calendar for that one.
I agree. Same here. And then Monday will be the doubleheader on President's Day on TNT from Boston. And then the final will be on the 20th on the Thursday on ESPN. To my knowledge, no third place game for this one. More of a round robin, just like how they did in the bubble just a few years ago. So strongest units versus weakest for goalies. USA is the strongest in goal. Weakest is Canada. Forwards, Canada is strongest. Weakest, in my opinion, is Finland, and then defense, Canada is the strongest, and then weakest is Finland. So how about strongest and weakest from goalies, forwards, and defense?
Strongest goaltending is the United States. Weakest goaltending is definitely Canada. That's their Achilles heel. I don't know what's going on. I mean, they used to have Brodeur, Luongo, and Fleury. And they've gone to Hill, Binnington, and Skinner. I don't know what's going on with their goalie clinics in Canada, but they got to step it up. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Forward core, who's got the best one? I'm struggling. I'm going to give it probably to Canada just because you got McDavid and you got McKinnon, and the depth is relatively the same as it is as the United States. So I would go slight edge to Canada. The weakest one is definitely Finland, but the thing is with Finland is that a lot of their players are used to playing those roles. You got a lot of guys, it's like they have a first line, they have a legitimate second line, and their third and fourth line guys are all guys who are normally on the third and fourth line. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect where you're like, okay, how does that work? I mean, you're going to have guys on like Team Canada, I don't know, let's just say Mark Stone playing in the bottom 6 potentially if he's healthy.
Yeah.
When was the last time that Mark Stone played on the bottom 6? I don't know if he's played on the bottom 6 in his entire life. I don't know.
Early when he was in Ottawa. Maybe when he was like a rookie.
Since when is Mark Scheifele a healthy scratch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm talking about here. So as much as we say like, oh, Finland's got weak forwards. Yeah, but their forwards are used to playing those roles. Anton Lundell's used to playing in the bottom 6. Now, will it matter in the end? I'm not sure. But that's the thing with Finland. Do not sleep on the Finns. They're pretty good. As far as a D-core, I think the Americans have the best D-core. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's really that close. I mean, you got Fox and Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. Canada, they got McCarr. Quinn Hughes just won the Norris. Adam Fox is also a Norris winner.
Yep.
McAvoy has been close. Carlson, I believe, has won it too. So I'm going to give it to the United States on that one. Sorry, I'm being a homer here. Weakest D-core, probably Finland as well. That one I can't really justify either as like, oh, those guys are used to their roles. I don't love it.
All right, and then power play. Just like I'm going to give it to Canada there just based on the different combinations. You could put McKinnon, you could put McDavid there, and then you're probably going to have Sidney Crosby on power play 2 for Canada. That's crazy to think there. And then but maybe, just maybe. And then weakest would be Finland in this one. But then PK, strongest, I have Sweden for the strongest. And then weakest would be Canada. Not as many guys who play PK roles for that. And obviously goaltender needing them to be your strongest guy on the PK. So I have Canada as the weakest on the PK.
I think Canada also has the stronger power play, but I don't think Crosby is going to be on PP2. I think what they might do is go, obviously, McDavid. They're going to go McKinnon as well. Crosby. Remember what I said about Zach Hyman. I'm not joking. I think they might do this. I think they might have him stand in front of the net also on the power play. Who's going to do it? It's either him or Reinhart. It's either him or Reinhart. And I know I'm a Panther bias, I guess, but Reinhart is kind of one of the only guys that kind of plays around the net. But even Reinhart's more of the bumper guy. And I don't think they don't need a bumper guy. So I think they're going to go a net front presence with Zach Hyman on the power play. And leading the power play is obviously going to be from the point, Cale Makar. And I would give Canada the best power play. The weakest power play, there's no weak one. I can't give you an answer. None. Yeah. All of them have such high end. Even Finland, who we say is the weakest forward group, Alexander Barkov, Mikko Rantanen,
Sebastian Aho,
Rupe Hintz, who can use. It doesn't matter who the fourth forward is on that one. Miro Heiskanen is going to be running it. Like that's not weak. There is no weak power play. They all have top end talent. So I can't give you an answer who's the weakest. I can tell you who's probably the strongest. It's Canada, but I don't think anyone's particularly weak. So I'm just going to give you no answer on that one. Best penalty kill? Finland.
Okay.
Finland's got the best one. You got Barkov. You got Lundell. You got it's the Panthers penalty kill is what they have there.
I put Sweden most of the amount of bodies based on how many minutes they suck up. Because I mean, Joel Eriksson Ek, don't sleep on him. He's one really of those good guys who don't get talked about enough. Michael Backlund, who could definitely play a lot, and also William Karlsson, who can play a lot of those penalty kill minutes for Team Sweden. So that is my logic between just the amount of bodies that they could use over and over again, so that they're not racking up so many minutes there, and that they could, because they could be so split with power play for Sweden. You could just have guys who could just be one role on special teams and not the other for them. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm very excited for the actual announcement when we actually do receive the news on December 2nd.
There's going to be so many debates. It's going to be fun. Every fan base is going to feel like they got jobbed and everyone hates them.
Yep,
how it goes.
For sure. But Jackson, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, making our Four Nations roster projection. Tell everybody where they can follow you and your work online.
Sure. Twitter is right down below. It's at JacksonH_52. And you can also follow my channel, Locked On Syracuse, at LO_Syracuse on Twitter. You can catch me there.
Yeah, and if you happen to be a Florida Panthers fan and a Syracuse fan, you get to listen to Jackson talk about multiple sports. So, yeah.
I don't think there's many of those, but you know what? So what?
Thanks, man, and hope to see you again soon.
Of course, anytime.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jackson Holzer, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.